Hello, and welcome back to the IT 360 Advisory Podcast with your host, Jason Ewers. Today, we are joined by Erich Kron of KnowBe4. Erich, thank you for being our guest.
Oh, it's great to be here, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I love having you guys on. Hey, tell us a little bit more about KnowBe4.
Yeah, so KnowBe4, our whole goal is to tackle the human problem in cybersecurity. So we have a security awareness training and simulated phishing platform. So basically, we try to train people how not to fall for phishing and social engineering. And then you get to send them little tests to see if they've learned anything. Kind of reinforce that training too.
Yeah, I've been subject to that a couple of times. I'm like, why am I being sent this? And it really does work. Now I know it, and I think it was your company's like, if in doubt, pick up the phone and call.
Yeah.
So now it's funny. It's like we get an email that comes back through, and I look at it. I'm like, something doesn't quite look bad. Then so I'll just call like either Don or my boss or something like, hey, did you send this? Like, nope, I did not send that. So it's like, tried to get me,
Yeah.
but you didn't get me.
That happens so often, honestly, like out in the real world. This kind of stuff is going around so much. That's kind of the cardinal rule. And the other thing you do is don't call them on the phone number that's in the email. We'll just go with that one because they've actually been known to fake that. So then you're calling them. They're going, oh, yeah, it's good.
It's good. Click
it's
on that.
Good. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, my ACH changed. How about that? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, little things like, for us, like the little yellow bar at the top. If it's like, this is out of your domain, and if it's the owner of the company and you're getting an email out of the domain, then you're like, oh, that's a number one sign right there. That's something to look for. Something I would have never thought about if it wasn't for being trained and educated. What else is great about it is I've heard companies that use your product, and not through us, just larger companies who are enterprise companies. They give rewards to their employees. It's like if you send an email through their cybersecurity team, you get an X amount of points, and then you get rewarded for that at the end of the quarter, which is kind of neat. I think that's a good little thing to keep people up and aware and make it fun at the same time.
Yeah, we're really big on the carrot principle here, like over the stick, of course. Where we'd love to see creative stuff like that. We've had some people out there that, it's National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so this is a great time. They run like fishing derbies, if you will. So they just fish these people like crazy during the month, but the people have opportunities to win prizes. So they're actually not minding getting all of those simulated ones because they get them put in raffles, or like you said, they get points. And sometimes it's simple things. Sometimes it's like the parking spot, right? Like the employee of the month type parking spot up front, or it may be a little trophy that goes around. I've seen people take, those little Swedish fish, like those gummy fish things.
Yeah.
And they give out packets of those for like winners. I mean, they can make it fun. They can make it interesting while the people are still learning. It doesn't always have to be, something that's a negative experience. And we love creative stuff like that.
Yeah, I think, when I talk to potential clients that are coming on board about this type of security, and for one, I think most of these people just aren't aware that the employees really are the number one threat that they have out there, and not saying that they're the ones that are creating the ransomware or the attack. It is by them not being educated or understanding what it does and what happens when you do click on an email and then click on an attachment that they don't know where it's coming from. But a lot of them feel like, hey, Big Brother's watching me, and they don't like that. But I think as we talk to them and really kind of paint the picture of how exposed they are with the amount of employees they have, that educate. I mean, you educate everything else. Why wouldn't you educate on this?
Yeah, and employees honestly are. They're the weakest link in here. Unfortunately, they're the ones that are targeted all the time. Why? Because they've been successful in the past. And here's what I like to say though, is that yes, your employees are the cause of a lot of your problems, but it's not really their fault if we're not doing something to help them. Right? We have some responsibility in training them, teaching them how to protect themselves. They're not cybersecurity experts. We hire accountants to do accounting. We hire marketing people to do marketing. They aren't all supposed to be cybersecurity experts, yet they're all being targeted. And we have to get the messaging right. Like you mentioned, it being a negative experience. we need to get the messaging right. We need them to understand, hey, this is really a big deal. This is going on a lot. This can cause a lot of problems. Not only that, what we teach them in the workplace, they can take home and try to avoid scams and stuff at home. They start spotting that stuff in their home stuff also, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we do need to make it less of a negative thing. We need to make it more, we need them to understand a little bit more why it's so important that they do this, the fact that their actions have real consequences in organizations. And it really only takes one click in a lot of cases, or enabling content on that one document that they open out of nowhere to really cripple a business. I mean, if you look at the ransomware stuff that's going on these days, it's brutal.
Yeah, I mean, especially small businesses. I mean, small to mid-sized businesses. I read somewhere where it was, within the first year, 60% of those businesses go out of business who have been ransomware or cyber attacked. Just because, for one, they don't have the resources to rebound like they need to.
Yeah.
And two, if they're shut down for 4 or 5 days, they don't have it there to be able to do that. And then now with, Don, and, we've had a podcast with our owner, Don, and, we had a client that didn't have the recommended security measures in place, the stack that we recommend. And we learned a lot on that podcast. I didn't know that you're not allowed to negotiate with certain cyber criminals that are on the U.S. watch list. And I'm like, okay, well then what does that do to your business if you can't negotiate and they hold all your data and basically everything in their hands and you can't pay that? I mean, what options do you have but to fold your business and start all over?
Yeah, it's tough. And I hate seeing some of these very sweeping regulations that get proposed or get put out there that, sure, these are something that an enterprise sized business could probably deal with. But yeah, your small, medium business, if you tell them that they can't pay the ransom, they just need to close up their shop and send their people home, and everyone has to get their own jobs again, new jobs or whatever. It's terrible. And this is why, the FBI's official stance is, we don't pay the ransom. Don't pay the ransom. But when you talk to the special agents on the street, they're like, look, we understand if it's a matter of closing the doors and destroying your business you've been working at for 10, 15 years or whatever, versus paying somebody $5,000 in a ransom, we know the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I'm seeing is there's going to be ways around some of this stuff as they get more and more strict on some of this. You can't pay the ransom stuff. Well, then what do? Well, you hire an offshore negotiator or an offshore recovery firm that turns around and pays the ransom to them out of their fee, but you're not actually paying the ransom. I mean, there's legal ways and loopholes, I'm sure, around this kind of stuff. But all it's doing is it's adding more hurdles in the way of people that are just trying to recover their business and get back to doing what they need to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, just adding days and time, and the time is what they really don't have. They got to keep the doors open, be able to have access to their network, their email, fulfill orders and things like that. And if you don't have access to that, your business is going to fail. So let me
And
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
Well, I've heard the argument, that if these businesses can afford to pay the ransom, they can afford security. And I feel very strongly that that's incredibly wrong. Okay, so especially in the small medium business space, these people they're mortgaging their homes. They're taking every penny they have out of their kids' savings for college and whatever to pay these ransoms to get going. And you're saying that they would be wiser to take all of that, put it into something that, quite frankly, all of the technical controls being in place and all these other controls being in place, we see over and over again that they still get breached.
Mm-hmm.
So I hate that argument from that standpoint, because it just doesn't make sense to me. It's not about how much you spend on cybersecurity at some point. You do the basics. As long as you're doing MFA and you're doing those kinds of things along the way, you can continue to throw a lot more money at it with diminishing returns.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate, but again, these folks, they take every penny they can have. They beg, borrow, steal from families and stuff like that to get their business back up and running in the hopes that they can continue. And that's part of why they end up, a lot of them, dying within 6 months to a year, because they just can't recover.
Well, and it's from what I understand is they've probably been sitting in your network for a while, so they know exactly pretty much to the penny how much money you have in your bank account.
Yeah.
You know, there's you know the one company that we were talking to had a $604,000 an odd number. Like, why is 604? You know, and it got negotiated down, but it's still, I mean, it's at the end of the day, that's money directly to your bottom line that you had to pay, even if you get it down half of that. It is astonishing. And then you don't even hear about, you know, I just recently, a local hospital network here in Indiana got hit, and we just heard about it, and that's the last we heard about it. Nothing else. We didn't hear how much. We didn't hear if they got it fixed. They didn't hear if they're up and running again. So it's very bizarre, and it's a real thing. And a lot of people, we talk about it all the time, like, oh, we're too small to be a target, and you know, no, it's, you got a bank account, you're a target, is what we always say. So it's how much do you want to be protected, and what you want to. And then when everyone's, you know, working remote or hybrid, it's just bringing in a whole new, you know, aspect of cyber risks that everyone's taking into play. And now, let me get your opinion about this. You know, you got texting, phishing, you know, you've got all these things going on now that are beyond just email phishing. I mean, is KnowBe4 doing anything for that, or is it just really the kind of the same philosophies that you have for the email phishing?
Well, yeah, we're definitely, we do have things in our platform where we can turn around and we can do some smishing, which is the SMS or text message phishing. We can even do some vishing, the voice phishing. I mean, it's all stuff that we got to watch. And we're keeping our eye on these things. You know, I've seen in the past some kind of hybrid attacks, things such as business email compromise, where the person on the other end receives an email, says, I need to wire out a bunch of money right away for this person. It's an executive. And then it's followed up with a text message saying, hey, I sent you an email. I need you to take care of this ASAP. And it looks like it's coming from the boss, right? People let their guard down when it's something like that. When you get more than just the single email, there's things like that they can put together to do this. So I think it's important to be aware of all the different kinds of phishing and stuff that are out there, including text stuff, including the phone calls. I mean, if you look at what happened to Twitter, you know, that was basically people calling up saying, we're with IT, we need your password, right? And so somebody gives it up and one thing leads to another. And next thing you know, they're out there doing these Bitcoin scams, you know, with these verified accounts. It's ridiculous how easy the social media or social engineering is if people aren't prepared for it and understanding, again, that they can be targets no matter how big they are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I'll tell you what, we'd like to try to keep these, you know, around 15 minutes. We're kind of coming up to that. But hey, and give a small business who has, you know, not a real strong security platform, you know, what's your recommend, the top 2 to 3 products that they should have?
Yeah, most definitely look into training your employees. Make sure that they understand what's going on. That's top of my list. Enable multi-factor authentication wherever you can on all of your accounts, anything like that. That is very important with the way that things are going on with breach passwords, and it helps deal with reuse because people reuse passwords other places. Obviously, the backups are a key too. Make sure you have good backups. And I'm going to sneak in a bonus one in there and say, let's do password vaults, where people use password vaults to generate unique, long, strong passwords, and we quit reusing them. It kind of goes off the second one there.
Yeah.
But it's such a big issue where people don't understand why it's so important not to reuse passwords.
No, it is. And it is amazing when we bring in new clients and we pull some data from there, and it's like the last time their password was reset was 2012.
Right.
Like, okay. But you know, that was, I think that was before you even had to put characters and numbers in for password authentication. Now it was just like their name, Doug or something like that. It's like, that's like
not long ago, there was those extortion emails that went out that said, we turned on your camera, you went to an adult website, we filmed everything, we're going to dump it, right? And then up in the, they would say something to the extent of, and to prove we were in your computer, here's your password, and they'd dump the password on there. And people were freaking out. Like, I heard all kinds of people having issues with employees going, oh my gosh, I didn't do these things, but they were using passwords from like a 10-year-old LinkedIn breach. And these people are still, they're like, it's my password. Well, you've had it for 10 years. You know, let's do something about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's some great information, Eric, and I really appreciate it. any of our listeners out there want some more information on email phishing, KnowBe4, and how it can help protect your company and just by educating your employees, feel free to reach out to myself here at IT360, and we look forward to working with you guys. Eric, thank you.
Thank you.